Today's gospel message is rather straightforward and it's simple in a way. We are again being told to be ready, to be prepared, and to live every day as if it were the day before we meet our Lord and Creator. We are being told to take all of His lessons, all of His teachings, and apply it to every day of our lives. It really is a very simple gospel reading, but it is far from an easy gospel to live. We can't live perfect lives. We're humans. We make mistakes. At times we may be greedy or cruel, and sometimes we do downright stupid things. But we are also, as we are called to be, kind, caring, and filled with the Spirit of God. When I was in the second year of college, I spent it at Holy Cross Seminary. And there had been a family that had requested assistance from the seminarians. Their son, in probably his mid-20s, had been in a terrible car accident, and he was now a quadriplegic. So every day, or most days, there would be a group of 4 of the college seminarians would team up, and we'd go out to that house, out to the home here in the outskirts of La Crosse, and we would do physical exercises with him. Move his legs and his arms, do hand exercises with him, various things like that, on the days that he did not have physical therapy in the hospital. This family was not Catholic. They had been referred by the hospital. And when Mom was there, she was always very gracious and so thankful when we would come. And she told us one day that some of her church friends were very critical of her as she was having these Catholics come into the home and doing these things for her son. And, they said to her, they're only trying to gain extra points so that they can sneak into heaven. And Mom said, you know what I say to them when you say that? She says, I think they're doing exactly the right thing to make their way to heaven. As God, Jesus knew the suffering of human beings, but by becoming man, He actually suffered what men, women, and children have to endure. Jesus, in human flesh, learned to love those who are in need of any kind. The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Matthew stresses the fact that for us, an active love of neighbor will be a decisive criteria at the final judgment. This reading is not a parable, it's not a story, but it is a truth that sums up all of the teachings we were given in Matthew's Gospel. And yet, even though we're probably quite familiar with the reading, there may be a couple of surprises in it when you stop and think about some of the words in the message. Now, the good and the first is the good and the bad both recognize that they have either done good works or they have failed to do good works. But what baffles both of the groups is revealed by their questions. But when, Lord, did we see you and we do these things for you? Or, we didn't see you and we didn't do these things. But Jesus goes a step further. He puts himself on the line into the first person. I was hungry. I was thirsty. I was sick, a stranger. What you did or didn't do, you didn't do to me, to Jesus. Jesus makes himself one with those in need. Our King is hungry. Jesus is thirsty. Our King is an immigrant, an alien. Jesus is homeless. Jesus has fully identified himself with poor, outcast, and oppressed. Jesus is indeed Emmanuel, God with us. He is with his people, the church, but he's most especially with the no accounts of this world. All those in desperate need of the basic necessities of life. Jesus is encountered in everyone. In the opening of the reading, in the second verse, it states, all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another. There's an implication here that it's not necessarily the nations as a whole that are judged, but rather the individual members of the nations. And they will be judged by how their nations have treated the needy. What, in effect, was their country's response to the welfare of its people who were in need? Was the justice system fair? Was health care available to all? Were the needs of children, the elderly, minorities being met? The implication is that there will be a judgment of all people based on how their nations have treated the marginalized of their society. Each of us must take an individual responsibility insofar as we are able for the behavior of the systems and societies to which we belong. Back in 1936, President Franklin D. Roosevelt touched on this theme in his second inaugural address, saying, the test of our progress as a nation is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much, it is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. Similarly, author Pearl Buck wrote in 1954, the test of a civilization is the way that it cares for its helpless members. We must live in the hope that the Lord's teaching is not so much a stern warning about the end of the world, but a lesson on how we should be living in the world. And while we should do everything we possibly can to prepare for Jesus' coming, we should not miss God's presence, Jesus' presence, already in our lives among us. Learn from our mistakes, grieve our losses, live today as well as we are able, live our life as if it was the last day of our lives, and hold on to a hope-filled vision that Jesus never forgets us, never leaves us alone, and will someday return to gather all of his faithful together. These last words of Jesus in Matthew's Gospel can be compared to the Last Supper discourses in John's Gospels. In both messages, there is summation, a final message from Jesus before he begins his passion. In both Gospels, the final message of Jesus is love. Be kind to one another. Be compassionate, merciful. Love